Happy New Year! 2017 gets underway with a bang as celebrations explode in spectacular displays across the country.
But there has been tragedy. 2 people die in separate fireworks accidents in New South Wales and Victoria.
New year, new you. From dating to finance and fitness, the secret tips to keeping your New Year's resolutions.
If you're waking up a little worse for wear this morning, well, we've got expert medical advice to help you with your hangover.
And celebrations are still cracking on across the globe. We will bring you the best as 2017 sweeps around the world.
Hello, it is Sunday the 1st of January 2017.
Whoa. Speaking of parties cracking on, hello to my neighbours who were still partying when I left for work this morning. Thanks for that.
The drive to work today was very entertaining.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a bit going on out there.
The dregs from last night.
Oh, that's not very nice.
Well, you know,
There were
like
people who were just embracing life.
Yeah, the revellers.
And if you're joining us this morning, let's hope it's hangover-free, bubbly and bright, ready to take on the day and the year.
Maybe a nice mix of people who are either getting ready to be hungover or haven't quite been to bed yet.
We're here to entertain
Real tip of the hat to all of you. You're all welcome on the show.
Plenty of news, though. Kicking off with New Year's Eve celebrations. So, Lara, talk us through it.
Of course, Jane and Tom, thank you. And good morning to you at home. We'll, of course, begin in Sydney, where the city has rung in 2017 with its world-famous harbour extravaganza. 7 tonnes of fireworks lighting up the skies.
4, 3, 2, 1.
And the city was at capacity with more than 1 million people squeezing in to watch that incredible show.
It was really good. After just all of this hard work on this other year, it's time to celebrate a new one.
And I think it's the best Australia fireworks and New Year's here.
Happy New Year!
Let's, of course, now go to our reporter, Sophie Upcroft, who is at the Harbour Foreshore this morning. Good morning, Sophie. This year's display, it certainly didn't disappoint.
Good morning, Lara. No, it definitely did not. Last night was a massive success in the harbour. The harbour lit up in a massive fireworks display and absolutely dazzled the crowds. There were over 1 million people packed into all the main vantage points down here, and it reached capacity. The crowds were especially wowed by the spectacular tribute to Prince as the harbour rained purple in a fireworks display. They were also wowed by the tribute to David Bowie, which saw comets flying through the air in a very intergalactic style pyrotechnic display. Now, police are also happy with the success of last night. They've told us that they're quite happy with how things went. They made only 15 arrests and laid 21 charges for assault, street and drug-related offences. However, unfortunately, one man does remain in a critical condition in hospital after falling off the tray of a truck in the city. But here's a little of what police have had to say about the night.
Look, from our perspective, we really feel the community heeded our warnings. They planned the night and, you know, they've acted in good faith and really seen 2016 out in a positive way.
All right, so overall it was a happy new year for all, but maybe not so happy today as the clean-up is expected to begin very soon with 60 tonnes of rubbish set to be piled in by the council. And there's still a few people down here this morning in their tents, but I'm not sure that they'll be up to helping to clean up. But overall, a very happy new year.
Yeah, certainly quite the clean-up effort, no doubt left behind. Sophie Upcroft reporting there, thank you. Well, meantime, one of Sydney's best vantage points was almost obscured by a thick cloud of smoke rising from the Four Seasons Hotel at Circular Quay. Crowds on the harbour filmed the smoke plumes as around 80 guests were evacuated from the building. Authorities say there was no active fire and it's believed to have been a faulty air conditioning vent. Well, meantime, 2 men have died in separate fireworks-related accidents in New South Wales and Victoria. In Victoria, a 46-year-old died at Hollands Landing in the state's east when he was hit just after 9:30, while a 52-year-old man also died on the New South Wales Central Coast at Budgie Beach just before 3 a.m. It's understood he suffered a serious head injury while lighting a firework, and despite efforts by friends and emergency services, he couldn't be saved. Well, moving on to Melbourne now, where more than 13 tonnes of fireworks were set off to celebrate the new year, which is a record for the city. Let's go to our reporter Melanie Slade, who was on the banks of the Yarra River for us this morning. Mel, just how big were the crowds last night?
Good morning. Well, Melbourne certainly knows how to host a great party and the conditions were perfect. It was a warm, balmy, clear night here and 500,000 people flocked to the city to see the fireworks display. They lined the banks of the river. They also gathered in parks, but it could really be enjoyed from anywhere where you could see the city skyline. The family event kicked off at 9:30, but the main event was at midnight, and 13.5 tonnes of fireworks were set off from 22 city buildings, and the pyrotechnicians say that this was the largest of any city in the country. It covered the whole 8-kilometre square of the CBD, and the spectacular lasted for around 10 minutes. Police were, though, out in force last night, along with security guards, especially given the recent terror arrests that we've had here in Melbourne. But everything went off smoothly. Police are still tallying the exact number of arrests, and they say that they will be having an update, holding a press conference later this morning.
It was certainly a spectacular display in Melbourne last night, Melanie Slade. Thank you. Well, meantime, crowd numbers were down in numbers at the fireworks display along the Brisbane River, with temperatures close to 30 degrees right up until midnight. Revellers partied at key vantage points including South Bank, Eagle Street Pier and Kangaroo Point, including this lucky lady who was proposed to right on the stroke of midnight. Congratulations to them. Well, overseas now, and New Zealand was one of the first countries in the world to usher in the new year, welcoming 2017 with lasers and fireworks on top of Auckland's Sky Tower. While in Japan, more than 65,000 people jammed into the iconic Shibuya crossing for the countdown. In Hong Kong, crowds gathered on the banks of Victoria Harbour to take in this incredible show. There were similar scenes in Beijing, with revellers gathering at an extravaganza held at the city's Olympic Park. And in Taiwan, crowds celebrated with a spectacular fireworks display on top of Taipei's 101 Tower. Moving on to other news now, and a toddler has died after he was run over by a car in the driveway of a home in Sydney's West. Emergency services were called to the Collerton property just after 7 p.m, but were unable to save the little boy. The male driver of the car was taken to hospital to undergo mandatory blood tests. Parramatta Eels winger Vi Totai has been released by the club after he allegedly glassed a member of an outlaw motorcycle gang. News Corp reports the incident was sparked after the bikie allegedly made comments about one of Totai's close relatives during a night out in Sydney's West last month. It's understood the rebel bikie has refused to press charges, allegedly saying he would handle the matter himself. Well, the Prime Minister has used his New Year message to call on all Australians to remain united in the face of terror threats.
Those who've sought to divide us have failed, just as those who try to divide us in the future will fail. And that's because we remain united in our determination to maintain our Australian values and our Australian way of life.
Mr Turnbull also vowed to root out Islamic terrorists both in Australia and in the Middle East. A group of backpackers has watched on in horror as their rental car rolled off a barge near Queensland's Fraser Island with all their valuables on board.
Oh my God, oh my God.
The travellers unfortunately lost their mobile phones, bank cards and passports when the four-wheel drive slid off, sinking into the ocean. The spokesperson for the barge company says they're now investigating the incident. Well, 28 people have been killed and at least 50 others injured when twin blasts ripped through a marketplace in Iraq. Attackers set off a car bomb outside the Baghdad market before detonating a second device amongst the crowds inside. Islamic State has claimed responsibility. 21 people have been trapped on an amusement park ride in California for 8 very long hours. The riders, including 7 children, became stranded up high when the Sky Cabin ride at Knott's Berry Farm broke down. The local fire brigade was called in, but unfortunately even their tallest ladder couldn't reach the riders. They were, though, eventually lowered to the ground one by one, harnessed and, of course, hugging very tightly onto abseiling firefighters. And after days of watching and waiting, one of 2 baby American bald eagles has hatched in Florida. Millions of people tuned into a 24-hour live stream, some watching for days until the eaglet finally broke free of its shell. The other bird could hatch any moment now. Parrots Harriet and M15, unusual name, are taking turns sitting on the egg to keep it warm. There you go. Good parent duo there, don't you reckon?
M15.
M15. It's a little bit random. Harriet and M15. I wonder how they got together.
I'm sure there's a story. We'll have to find out.
I hope by 7:30 update you will
Yeah.
have the latest for us, Lara.
The background on the romance between M15 and Harriet. Stay tuned.
Standing by. All right, well, we've seen Australia celebrate, but New Year's doesn't stop just here. It's going on around the world, and it's only just struck midnight now in Dubai. They are putting on an extravagant fireworks display there as we speak. It's, according to them, the biggest in the world. Millions tuning in globally. Check it out. What do you think, Jane? That's some wonderful smoke they've got there.
Yeah, it did look a bit smoky. Some nice fireworks there. I mean, look, we're all a little bit biased here. It's pretty hard to beat Sydney Harbour.
That's true.
Obviously, Melbourne, Brisbane, wherever you are. I saw Senator Jackie Lambie tweeting some photos of the fireworks in Burnie, down in Tassie. So wherever you are, there's some fireworks to be had. Maybe not quite as big as Dubai, but, you know.
I'm going to be honest, I expected better from Dubai.
Okay.
At least they're having a crack.
Tough critic.
Hey.
It just looks a bit smoky, to be honest.
There's still a few hours left to go in London, plenty more in New York and LA, but as New Year's sort of breaks around the world, we'll try and bring you some more of the fireworks while we're here on the show.
One of the great ones coming up will be Paris. It'll be in the next couple of hours, so stay tuned for that. That's always spectacular off the Eiffel Tower.
Also stay tuned for your weekend weather forecast. That is coming up.
And we will have your first sports update, including the Sydney Sixers. Well, they just collapsed in spectacular fashion, handing the Strikers victory to sold-out Adelaide Oval. And Melbourne City, well, they scored a late equaliser, taking a share of the points against the Mariners. It's up next.